Hi, Alex here from Rebeloper.com, and in this video I will show you how you can set up your UI for our MBProgressHUD Swift project. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, we have imported MBProgressHUD through CocoaPods, and now it's time to set up the UI for our project. I will go through this really quickly because this might become a really long video, so I will try to make it as short as possible. But let's dive in and let's see what we are going to build. So let me just hide this. And here I have already created our test MB project. I will just show you what we are going to build. So this is a copy of the example, the Objective-C example from the GitHub repository. So let's just wait for it to launch, and here we are. And as you can, let's wait for it. Yeah, here it is. We have here a navigation controller with a title, and here we have our, inside here we have collection view cells, but in the original example, the Objective-C example, there are table view cells, and as you can see, we have some labels here, and that's about it. Let me just build and run the other project here, that is the HUD demo view controller, and I will just start this up, and you will see that here we have some examples, and they are intermediate mode with label, and we will just build upon this example. Okay, here we have it. As you can see, it's quite the same. Here are some bluish buttons. On our example, we have black buttons. So you may see that the cells are not different. Well, this is the Objective-C version, and the other one will be the Swift version. Okay, now let's just close this and take a look at our project. How is it going so far? Well, we have created, let me just take this. Okay, we have created our pod file, and we have added our controller. Now we want to remove the main storyboard, so I just simply delete this. I really hate storyboards. I don't want to use them, and I really love adding all of this in code. So I have deleted that, and the main interface, let's delete this reference here. And now let us just go into app delegate, and let's add our view controller upon launch. So what we need to do here is type in. Okay, and finally we want to add our view controller to the Windows root view controller. So let's initialize our view controller here. Let it be the view controller that is default, that is added as we built this project, and then window.root view controller equals to our view controller. Okay, that is it. Now let us just add this view did loads background. So type in view, so we may see our background color that we are actually inside here, purple. We are actually in this view controller. Now let us just select iPhone 10 and let's build this out. Okay, we are inside our view controller with a purple background. Now what we want to do is actually not use this view controller. We want to create a collection view controller inside a navigation stack. So let us just create a new, let's say a new file, and I will select Cocoa Touch class, click on next, and it would be a subclass of UICollectionViewController. Okay, and I will name this HUDs, HutController, because all the HUDs will be inside this HutController. Okay, let's click on next and let's add it to our project. Okay, and as you can see, some basic setup boiler template has been added to our HutController, and let's just go over it and let's see what we got here. Well, we do have our use identifier set as a LED. That is quite good because we will register, well, already have registered with our use identifier this collection view, well, the cell of our collection views, which is great. And now we don't need this storyboard based application, so I will just simply delete that. And of course we will not use our collection view delegate at this time. So what we have here is our numbers of sections, which, well, for now let's just add 1, and the number of items in sections, for now let us just add 3 here. And let's return the cell. Well, for now we will return a basic UI collection view cell that we have registered here, and we are dequeuing this here. If you don't know what I'm talking about, well, you will learn throughout this episode about how to set up these collection views. Okay, now we want to add this collection view controller instead of our original view controllers. So let's just comment this out and let's create our collection view controller, and for that we will need first of all a layout. So let's type in layout, and now let's create our collection view. And we will use our created HUDs controller, collection view. Well, let's type this out, and that will be our HUDs controller with a collection view layout, and we will choose our created layout. Now that is good. Now we don't want to add this collection view controller as our root view controller. We want to use a navigation stack, so we will create a nav controller, and that will be a UI navigation controller, and we will add this navigation controller root view controller as the collection view controller. I hope that all makes sense. Collection view controller. Okay, and finally we will add our Windows root view controller, the navigation, this nav controller that we have created. Now let us just go into the HUDs controller and change the background's color, and I will just delete this. And well, first of all, I can see that we have the paddings as 4 spaces, and I will just simply select this all and cut it out and paste it again. Now we have 2 spaces annotations. Okay, now of course this can be set up inside the xcode preferences. I do have an xcode video about this in the xcode tips and tricks playlist, so go ahead and take a look at that if you don't know how I added 2 spaces indentations into our xcode project files. Okay, now back to this issue. We are going to add a background color, and if you recall, we added as view.background equals .purple. Now inside a collection view controller, it's a little bit different to get the view's background color, and we have here something called a collection view, and we need to add the background color to that. So background color equals, and I will add here green, so it wouldn't be purple. And finally let's build and run and test this out. Here we have it, and we have a navigation controller, as you can see, a navigation item at the top of our screen, and we have our green background. Good stuff. Now, what do we need to do next? Well, let's add a title to this navigation item. So Let us just type in let's build and run again, and let's see how all of that looks. Till it compiles, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Okay, here we have it. Let's change this background color to, let's say, another a kind of grayish color. If you can recall, I will not go ahead and build and run again, but it is a grayish color, and I will use UIColor and with a white. Let me just find this in the here with a white value, and if you choose for the white, well, let's say 1.0, then you will get a perfect white. If you wanted to choose 0.0, then you would get a perfect black color. Okay, and of course, if we don't give any color to our collection view, then it is a plain black. So to make that grayish color, we will use an alpha value of our white, and because it is an alpha value, all the black default background will be shown. And I will just type in here 0.7. I believe that should be our desired grayish color. Now let's build and run again and see how that looks. Yes, that is correct. Okay, now what is up next? Well, we should add our collection view. Now, why isn't it showing up? Well, that is because we haven't added a size. As you can see here, you have one section and 3 items in that section, but it isn't showing up on our app. That is because we don't have a size for our item. So let's just scroll down here and let's just type in here. And as you can see, it doesn't really autocomplete. That is because we need to we need to conform to a protocol, and that protocol is our UI collection view delegate flow layout. And now we should get the autocomplete. Okay, let's just scroll down and continue typing, and here we have size for item at. And let me just take this and make it up so you may see. So here we have our collection view layouts, size for item, and we will return, as you can see, a CG size. So CG size, and we will use this one with a width, and the width should be the whole width of our screen. So let's say collection view dot frame dot size dot width. Okay, and the height, well, we should type in here an arbitrary 45 height. Now let's build and run again and see how that looks. I hit Command R to build and run again, and we will not see again any collection view items, and that is because of the default background of our cell. Well, it is transparent, it is the clear, so we need to type in here cell dot background color. Let's take this and have this too. Well, let's type in here white, because it will be white essentially. Okay, now let's build and run again, and let's see our 3 cells. Now what we are seeing here is not 3 cells, and let's see why is that. Now we don't have the white cells showing the up just right now, but that doesn't really matter because we are going to create a special HUD cell. So for that, let's just stop this for now, and let's add a new file and let it be a Cocoa Touch class, and we will choose here UI collection view and cell, and we will call this a HUD cell. Okay, let's click on next and let's add it into our project. Now, here, let us just initialize it with an init with a frame. Now, what do we want inside our cell? Well, first of all, let's add this required initializer and add our background color and let it be of, let's say, red. And now let's replace our default UI collection view cell on our HUDs controller. So what we need to do is, well, first of all, let's register our cells as our HUD cell. Okay, and then we need to dequeue it as our HUD cell. Okay, and let's just comment, let's copy this, and no, let's just delete all of these lines. And now let's build and run, and now we should see the colored cells. I really hope so. Okay, let's see now. Well, something is missing, and for now let's just select this alpha value and let's set it to 0.9. Now, upon further inspection, I have found out why the cells are not showing, and that is because when we set our layout, well, we don't set it as a UI collection view layout. Instead, we need to set it as a UI collection view flow layout. So go ahead and replace that. And now let us just build and run again, and we should see the red cells. Okay, here we go. Great. Now let's go back to the HUD cell, and we will enter, well, first of all, we will create this HUD cell in a way that we can then set the specific HUD actions. So first of all, we need a title label, and then we will let's add our title label now. So and now let's go back to our first of all, let's add our title label, and for that we will first of all create a new setup views function. Add it here as a file private, because we don't want to access this function outside of our file. And now we will add our subview, the title label, and then we need to anchor it to our HUD cell. And for that we will use another CocoaPod LBTA components that has a very handy anchoring convenience methods. And for that I will just go to our pod file and type in here, and that should take care of that. And now let's go open up terminal. First of all, let's navigate to our project here. So let's cd into that. Okay, and now let's type in pod install, and we should get our LBTA components installed. Well, yeah, and that is one problem, and I will fix it, because LBTA components is required where I believe iOS 10, but I will just finish save this file as an iOS development platform as iOS 11. Let's type in again pod install, and we should get, yes, installing LBTA components. There we have it. And now we can access the anchoring methods. Go ahead and take a look at LBTA components and its details. Now I am just simply going to use the anchoring method, title label.anchor, but before we do that we need to import LBTA components. Let's just build one more time so we may get our completion here. Okay, and let's anchor, and I would just anchor this center to super view. And finally, now let's go back to our HUDs controller and let's add our cells, title label, text. Let's build and run again and see. Well, let's see what's the problem here. Oh, equals. I forgot the equal sign. And here we go. We have our dummy texts here. Now, next up is that we want to have more than, let's see, 3. Here, let's type in here maybe 15, but we need to have well, some sort of an array of elements, and that is why we are going to create now a new HUD class. Let's just close this off, and I will just simply create a new HUD class here, new file, a Swift file, and let's just type in here HUD. Okay, and let's create our class. The name should be HUD. Well, and we should have here a label text and an action, and that action will be well, an enum called HUD action. So first of all, let's create our enum, and it will be a HUD action. And let's see, HUD action. I will just copy out our first example here. It will be an indeterminate example, and that will be our HUD action type. So now that we have that, let's add our title, and finally let's initialize this in it with our parameters. Okay, now we can construct our HUDs. So let's go back to our HutController and let's create our first HUD. So let HUD, and because we will use sections and items in those sections, I will just type in here HUD 0, 0, that is the first element in our first section. So HUD 0, 0 equals HUD. Let's just build so we may find the auto completion, and HUD here. Okay, and here we have a title label text and an action. For the action we only have one action, so it should be our indeterminate example. And for the string, well, for now let us just copy and paste the string, and I just go to our HutController. Well, let me just show you where I get all of these strings. Inside our MBProgressHUD here we have all of our strings, our titles, and here, as you can see, we have a two-dimensional array that I will construct in just a minute. But for now I will just copy out this title. There you have it. And now let's just construct a HUDs two-dimensional array, and I will construct it as a lazy, because we are going to add a lazy var, because I'm going to add our HUDs inside here. So lazy var. Okay, good stuff. Now we have our first item inside there, and now to see it inside our UI collection view, let's just return for the number of sections HUDs.count, and for the number of items in section, let's return HUDs, and here we unwrap our two-dimensional array, and for the section part we will use this section, and for the HUDs part we will use, I believe, sections dot only just the count. Okay, now let's build and run and see how that looks. Okay, here we have our dummy, but now we need to set the title labels text to, and that is HUDs, and here we have our two-dimensional array, and that is our I believe we need to have here index path dot section, and here we have our index path dot row. Okay, let's build and run again. What seems to be the problem here? And we need to get our title label text. Okay, pretty good stuff. Okay, and as you can see here we have our indeterminate mode. Now, next up is that we want to add, let's see if we want to tap on this indeterminate mode cell. We need to implement a new protocol function here, and that is, and then we will choose this one. So let's just print out for now 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's tap on it, and as you can see here we have our action. Now we want to add something like run HUD with the index path, so we will create inside our HUD a new function, and because we want to access it through our HUD class, we will create a static function, and that will be run HUD, and we will add an action type here, action. Okay, and because we and finally we need to create a switch statement, because these actions will be more than this indeterminate example. So we are going to type in switch, and according to our action, first of all we type in here indeterminate action. The default value we can safely delete that, and we will create a new function, and it will be the same as our enum name, and of course this will be a file private static function. That's it. Okay, and finally we need to add into our HutController this one. When we just simply select our item, let's build and run and see everything is okay. Now we need to access our HUD and then run HUD with an action, and the action comes from our selected HUD. So let's type in here HUD, and again we select our HUD. So here we have our index paths dot section, and then index path dot row, and then let's build and run and see how that looks. HUDs, because we are getting from our HUDs. Great. And now let's see how all of this looks, and hopefully we should get a print statement that is inside here in our HUD running HUD action and the name of our HUD action. Okay, let's tap on it, running intermediate example. Good stuff. Okay, now that we have all of that set up, that we can inside our file private static func add the actual code that will be executed when we press on these cells. Now we can add all of the cells. So let's go to HutController, and as you can see here I have a HUDs two-dimensional array. We don't have sections just yet, but we will have, and I've already prepared on my example, and I will just simply go to our HutController, and as you can see here we have our intermediate mode. I just copy and paste all of the example HUDs, and let me just go back here and paste it out there. Go ahead, and you can also copy and paste everything. I believe we need a text label. I will just rename this Well, you can get all of this inside from our GitHub repository, so it should be label text. Okay, let's rename this. Okay, and now we should get rid of all the errors. Okay, and finally we don't have these HUD actions, so to do that I am going to go back again inside our HUD and add all of the other HUD example enums. Okay, let's close that and go to our HUD. This is simply copy and pasting, and I will not waste time on these. Okay, now let's go back to our HutController. Let's build and run again, and we will have these issues. Okay, let's go inside our HUD here. Maybe it did not compile. Yeah, we need to have our switch exhaustive, so let's add our cases here. Okay, as you can see, all of them have been added, and now we need to create our placeholder functions that I will also copy out. So here we have all of them. This is just a matter of simple copy and paste, and I don't want to waste time, video time on this. So here we have them, and now we need to add all of them inside our switch statement that are already inside here. And I will just simply copy all of these out. Okay, here we are, and paste them inside here. Okay, let's build and run again and see how that looks, and we have succeeded. Okay, and maybe we will run at a later time. For now, let's just stop this and let's see how our HUDs look. HUDs array looks. Well, first of all, we only have one HUD in here, so I will just add all of the HUDs. I'll just copy and paste again, and as you can see, we have 4 sections, and inside of each section we have all of these HUDs. So let's just copy this out too, and this conforms to the example project from MBProgressHUD. Okay, let's just simply copy and paste, and I believe we should be ready now. Let's just build for now and let's see if it succeeds. It did succeed, and now let's build and run and see all of the HUDs being shown here. As you can see, all of them are here. Well, there are some issues with the layout, and I will fix them now. First of all, let's remove this red from our cells, so let's replace this with white. Okay, let's build and run again, and now as you can see, we don't kind of have the sections laid out correctly. We don't know in which sections we are. Well, the headers should be set right about here, and of course here, 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 where you don't really see the header. So I will just go inside our HUDs controller and add a new function here, and that is collection view reference size for, and I will just choose the header in section, and here we will return a CG size. Let's select our code and return a CG size, and the width should be again the collection views, collection view dot frame dot size dot width, and the height should be, well, let's see, 30. Let's build and run again and let's see how that looks. Okay, it looks kind of okay. One last thing, and that will be the final UI tweak here. As you can see here, we have a default line spacing, so we will fix that by typing in view So let's choose this one. Minimum line spacing for section at a really mouthful, but we will just return here and it will be a CG float, but one is okay. Now let's build and run again and see the completed UI. And I will just take this console here, and here we go. We have all of our HUDs ready. And let me just tap on this running HUD action indetermined example, label example, details label example, and so on. So there you have it. We have created our UI and we are ready to show some progress HUDs, and that will be the topic of our next episode. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up if you did like this video, and of course if you haven't already done so, subscribe to our channel. Go ahead and take a look at our rebeloper.com site, and as usual I will see you in the next one.